All right, boys, here we go. This is the Race Communiqué, and I'm welcoming my two guests to the pod again. Tom Southam, how are you, mate?
Very good, man. Very good. Just got home and just got my little Echelon Pelo keyring, mate. My literally got home today and received that. So check it out. I'm in the Echelon.
What number are you in the Echelon, mate? You made the front split. I'm surprised you actually made it. You weren't really known for your crosswind abilities.
Mate, this one, I think I must have been in the early break and then just got caught, just at the right time. Number 5. So I'm well up in the first Echelon.
Don't slip back to the doom line, mate. It's only inevitable what's going to happen back there. And of course, Luke Durbridge, who knows much more about the Echelons and the doom lines these days. Durbs, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. I've got a microphone. You can't see it, but I've got a beautiful microphone right in front of my face. So I apologise for everyone who's been putting up with my absolutely dog shit audio. I'm hoping that this week we have some nice, sharp Durbo. I mean, I mumble my words as it is, so hopefully you guys can understand me. I'm still waiting for my little gift bag. Andorra is one of the hardest places to send things, so I'm currently gatekeeper at the moment in the Echelon. I haven't actually got my number.
You just keep waiting, mate. Might be a long wait. It's going to be awkward, isn't
it? Yeah. But nah. Thanks for having me here, boys. Always good to catch up once a month with you fellas.
This, of course, is Life in the Peloton, a production made possible by our partner, MAAP. And we're talking about the Life in the Peloton membership. If you guys aren't aware, that is the little membership that we've got going on. And you can sit in 2 groups, whether you are up the front in the Echelon or hanging on back in the doom line. It doesn't matter because you can just catch up with us. There's extra pods and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the Race Communiqué is exclusively being brought to you by the Escape Collective, and we had a lot of fun in this last month doing the Escape Collective Fantasy League, the Giro Fantasy League. We had our own Life in the Peloton League. And boys, all right, it's in. Let's hear the results. I know where I finished. I might save mine till afterwards. I want to hear how you boys did. How did you guys go with the Escape Collective tipping comp?
I was actually 85th in the Life in the Peloton League.
Ooh.
And then I was like 566 in the overall. Like pretty awful, to be honest. Like I was pretty confident going in thinking I'm a big tipster because, I know how to pick. But it was actually quite challenging. Like towards the end, I actually started scrolling down and they were suggesting who was a sprinter or not. And I was just like saying... I don't know. I picked all my sprinters that I know. I was just picking random people, Well,
because if anyone doesn't know how it works, it's you get to select one rider a day for the whole Giro, but once you use that rider, you can't use them again. So you had to be really strategic about who you were choosing. We had the Life in the Peloton League. We had over 100 people in that league, but there's over 1,000 people in the whole tipping comp. Dismally, I'll chime in quickly before Tom does. Dismally, I finished 625th in the whole league. I still stayed top 100 in the Life in the Peloton at 96. I only had 791 points. I didn't know that you could do the automated tipping, because what happened for me was I was all guns blazing at the start, but because of I'm going to say it, my excuse, because of the Australian time zone, sometimes you get to like 5 o'clock at night, you're like, oh, I haven't tipped. Oh, and then you'd miss it. And then that would be it. And I'd take like just 0 points because they'd give me like Jonathan Milan on like a mountain stage. You're like, no, I've used Milan on like the hardest day. And then like on the sprint day, they'd give me like Pog. I'm like, no, Poggy.
Didn't really matter though. Didn't really matter.
So, I mean, as a sports director, I pride myself not only in like knowing what's going to happen in the race, but also in, the logistics of getting my team to the start on time, good selections, making sure everyone's organised. And I have to say my fantasy team was an absolute disaster. I was a day late, so I had the automatic tip on the first day, which already set me off like on an absolute bummer. And then I failed to even get inside the Life in the Peloton group. So I didn't even manage that. But I did get going. I had a good period. I've been at a race for the last week, but I had a good period where I was really into it. And I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I thought it was, if you can, and maybe a reminder's like a good idea, if there's a reminder on the app or something to put it in time. Because I had a few things going on, like, this could work out. Do I use this? Like, my key thing was, when do I want to use Pog? Do I use him early and get 100 points for a stage win? Do I save him for later on? How many stages do I think he's going to win? Who else could potentially win later on? Which way's the race going to go? So you had to think about it a lot more than, if I was just watching it. I used Steinhauser too early, which I was disappointed about, because I used him in the first week. The same day as you did, we actually spoke about it, and you're like, I'm going to use Steinhauser. But I had a couple of other guys in the UK here who are doing it as well. Harry, who has been on the pod, who we spoke about, who was doing really well. He got the first 4 days. And then a couple of other friends, and I could see them pop up on the leaders board every now and again. It gave me a little bit of inspiration. But I think we're all sort of, let's just say we didn't cover ourselves in glory, lads, and we need to come up with some much better strategies and much better work at the Tour de France, because...
All I'm hearing is that I actually won. I won out of us three.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. That's all I'm hearing. 566.
Nah, I got 725.
No,
Yeah,
how many points?
566 rank.
No, but how many points did you get?
840.
Ah, you rolled me then, yeah.
Yeah, you did win.
Yeah.
Well,
There you go. I don't give a shit.
You didn't get a Boucle de Mayenne, so you could do all of your flipping your tipping. That's why your team started with 5 riders instead of 6, because you were busy tipping on Escape Collective.
Exactly. Called Whitey, said I can't go. Got 3 screens up.
I've still got a tip. Well, the good thing is we've got the Tour de France coming up, and this was a bit of a practice run, for us to get used to it. But for everyone out there who missed out, we're going to bring you the Tour de France live from the Peloton Fantasy League. We'll talk about that on the next pod, but you need to get in. If you miss this one, it was a real fun because it does bring everyone closer together, and you've got a bit of a chat, a bit of banter. It was a lot of fun. Speaking about the Giro, well, should we get this show kicked off and talk about this ridiculous Giro? I found the Giro this year, well, look, the Giro in general, I think it brings, like, they talk about it. It's the most beautiful race in the world. It's so good to watch. It's filthy to race. From my personal experience, I don't know, what's it like to actually direct? Southam, have you directed the Giro?
Yeah, I did 2021. It was my first Grand Tour as the lead DS. And actually, like, I had big reservations about doing it, because I thought, traffic jams, like, everything's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a nightmare. But I really enjoyed it. It was really it was a good race. It was a good race to direct.
Why? Like, compare it to the Tour.
Yeah, complete, like, totally different world of pressure. There at the time in the Giro, and there's only a few years ago, there was more opportunity. So there are more days that, like, it comes into play that you go and you have guys in the break. It wasn't as like the Tour's very, very hard, very shut down. There's basically always someone who's going to chase, But in the Giro, it used to be that you just get just about the right combination, and then it's going to be, okay, that's going to go and that's going to work or whatever. But in the Tour, it's like, well, someone's going to chase, basically, until everybody's in the front. So
from a director's point of view, does that make your job more stressful, or how does it change your role?
When you're on the right side of it, it's much easier, because this is what I want to talk about later on, actually, is about how the breaks have changed at the Giro, about how hard it is for them to go now. But so you could be on the right side of that, and the break could be gone quite quickly, and then you go, okay, this is what we have in front of us today, very early. And so then you just basically start working on one plan. It's like, okay, we need to beat these guys, or we need to do this, or we do this with the GC or whatever. Whereas as long as the race is open, you've got a lot more to think about. So
What about your experience, Durbo? Just quickly before we get into this year's Giro, how does it compare to the other Grandies? For people out there who don't understand, the Giro is a bit special for a few unique reasons, in my opinion. I've only ridden 2 Giros. Why do you think, you probably got a better idea now, being in the Peloton now, why it differs to others?
I think I sort of agree with Tom, is that it feels like the Giro is more open. It's also, I don't know, there's an element of excitement around the Giro because it's the first Grand Tour of the year. You know, everyone's had their classics, everyone's had their one-day races, and then it's like this first show of the Grand Tour, and the Italians own it. Like, as an example, like, I hadn't done the Giro. I done the Giro in 2013, 14, 15, and then it was quite a big break. 2019 was my next one, and there was actually I rocked up to the Giro first stage and went into a bar, and someone saw me. I was actually team presentation. Someone saw me. He's like, the Giro, sit down, boys, sit down. They brought crostata, they brought coffees. It was all on the house. It was just like, you're doing the Giro, you're special. I don't give a shit if I know you, if you're Italian or you're not. It's just like, you're doing our race. And they just love it. Where like, if you go to the Tour de France and you roll in and you don't start with French, there's no way you're getting a free coffee out of there. Like, one, you wouldn't want the free coffee, but it's so bad.
If you went over the barriers at the Tour and outside of the bubble, you'd get arrested by a gendarme, and you'd be like, full team kit, and you'd be like, I don't care, you got full team kit on, like, you're not, like, once you're.
That actually happened. That happened to Froomey. Remember they tackled him on his way down?
Yeah.
He had a whistle in and a rain jacket, and then the gendarme took him down. So it's just, yeah. And the Giro is, I think, I don't know, it is possibly physically harder than the Tour, but definitely not mentally.
Where's the Vuelta sit then?
Oh, the Vuelta's easy, just short stages. No, the Vuelta's horrible, man. I did one Vuelta, I never want to go back.
Why? What about outside the race? It's even better than what you're talking about in the Giro. It's way more relaxed. You can walk into it.
It is way more relaxed, but that time of year you shouldn't do Grand Tours. I'm done for the year. I'm wrapping it up.
All right, let's talk about this Giro. Well, we haven't really explained it for a long time. How the podcast works is we talk a bit of racing at the start with me. Durbo's going to bring us a little bit of Pello chat, and then Southam is going to be talking tactics at the end before we get stitched up by someone's community quiz at the end. Let's talk about the Giro. Quickly, GC results. If anyone's been under a rock, Pogacar won. Danny Martinez was second. Pogacar won by almost 10 minutes, 9 minutes 56. I've probably heard this statistic rolling around. The biggest gap since 1965, 6 stage wins, a total dominance. Geraint Thomas was third, Ben O'Connor was fourth, and Antonio Tiberi, the new Italian star, was fifth. Hope for Italy yet. In the sprint, Jonathan Milan took it out. He crushed it, 3 stage wins. And Caden Groves, the Aussie, was second. Mulia was third. I'm talking about the Ciclamino jersey now. And in the mountains classification, Pogacar took it out, but it was still exciting for the second. The race was second, and that's something I want to talk about. Pellizzari, he got second, a young Italian who is going to look like a superstar, and Tom's very own Georg Steinhauser was third. That's sort of the silver lining for him, because he was racing so good with a stage win and a second and a third. 2/3, I think, in the race itself. The total dominance of Pogacar in this race, I thought was going to be boring. I don't know what I thought, but generally in the last few years when a rider has dominated, the Froomies of the world, and then, Vingegaard, and, even when sort of Sky took over and did their thing, to a degree, for me anyway, those mountain stages I just couldn't wait for the sprint stage, because I was like, oh yeah, okay, we know what's going to happen. They're going to ride away. And the dominance of it made it sort of boring. You sort of didn't realize how good they were because it was just too dominating. This, though, for me, this guy, Pogacar, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. He's making it, I don't know, he's just still keeping, even if he's just winning, I'm so excited watching it. Just the way he is, even the little things he's doing and how he is with all the riders. You see he's so complimentary of all the other riders in the race. He's not even talking about his own performance in the end in the interviews. He's just talking about everyone else except for himself. It's like, hang on, you just completely dominated. He's talking, oh yeah, Pellizzari and Steinhauser, I really wanted him to win as well. And it was a shame I couldn't, let them win, or, not let them win. I'm just saying I had to catch them and win myself. So I guess I got a question is, what do you think about that? And what did you think about the comments being thrown around? This is probably a bit more to you, Durbo, about how they should let Pogačar should let other riders win. Oh yeah, you should share it around and all this sort of feel. I'm like, none of the riders want to get gifted a win. You never want to have a stage win. I'm sure in the moment you'd be like, cool, I won. But then if you found out later, it'd be this tarnish on you that, oh yeah, you always got gifted that stage of the Giro when Pogačar sort of let you roll across the line. Would you want to win a stage like that? Is that what riders want, to be gifted stages?
I definitely don't think that riders wanted to be gifted stages, but my biggest thing I was thinking about was that we think about Sean Kelly, we think about Eddie Merckx, like we think Pogačar's one of the greats ever, right? And the reason they were the greatest is because they absolutely dominated. Like when they went to race, they raced and they won, and they won. They won the Giro, then they backed it up and won the Tour, and they won with Sean Kelly, I think was not outside top 5 in all the Vuelta stages. You know what I mean? It's happened before. It's not like the first time we've ever seen this. And the reason we remember these guys as the greatest of all time is because they destroy people. And Pogačar's doing it in a nice way. But he's doing it in a really polite way. He's not crushing people and going, yes, I'm the best. But he still wants to be the best ever. So he still needs to crush people. Does that make sense though?
That makes total sense to me. I think that's a really, really good comment, mate, because you're right. It's like when Sean Kelly was doing all that stuff, we reeled it off the other day, didn't we, in the pod? It's like that's comparable. And what I love about Pogačar is that he's winning across the board. And he is good for cycling. He's winning with a smile, talks about the other riders. He's respectful. He's not trying to just alpha male, the whole everybody into submission, basically. He's just going to do what I'm going to do. And 6 stages is a lot, but it's not so long ago that Postal would take 4 or 5, or Sky would take. I mean, how many did Sky win in 2012? With between Cav and Wigo, and so I don't think it's too dissimilar. I think Durbo's hit the nail right on the head there. To be honest with you, it's a good point.
But did you guys still find it exciting? Do you find him exciting to watch?
Yeah, because it's got to the point where it's it's almost so good now. Because if you think that we are seeing perhaps something incredible, perhaps we're seeing a Merckx, or we're seeing something absolutely that's never going to be repeated, right? Again, then it is cool to see him win by 10 minutes. And it is cool to see him, just take off and do kind of what he wants. I mean, I never enjoyed it when Basso won by in 2006 by a load. He won by 6 minutes or something. That was the last big gap. Didn't enjoy that because it was Basso, right? And it's Basso's a Giro winner. He's a guy who got on the podium of the Tour, and he was just a guy, right? Whereas Pogačar is an absolute all-time one of the best. And we're seeing it right now in front of our eyes. I think Caruso made a similar comment. It's it's a special moment.
Do you think it's because also, I was just thinking about it then, because of all the lead-up races as well, the races he did earlier this year, the races he does last year, he's not just focused on the Grandies like the other Grand Tour riders. He goes out there and he crushes, the other races Catalunya, or, we've seen him earlier in doing the Flanders, the one day. I think for me, that's why when he comes in the Grand Tour, he's not just this guy who's hidden away and then somehow comes out and crushes the Giro. It's he was already crushing other different races. So it gives him this other sort of mystique as well.
Also, this is what I found really interesting at the Giro was how he's going to manage that with the Tour in mind, right? So in the first week when he was good, but he wasn't he wasn't putting 3 minutes into everyone on the first couple of days, right? He won the sprint in Europa and he got beaten by Navarre on the first day. And then you start to think, maybe this is part of something we haven't seen since 1998 with Pantani, like a Giro Tour double, which again, that takes us some serious management. And that's what I found really interesting, when he was going to open the big gaps and what he was going to do with that stuff.
Durbo, on that, the Giro Tour double, if you could, just riding it, not necessarily trying to win it, how do you manage the double Grand Tour? That gap in between, what happens now for the riders who are trying to do the double?
Oh, it's actually quite blissful, to be honest. Like, it's one of my most favourite periods. It's like you actually don't need to do too much. Like, if you finish a Giro in good shape, I've done the Giro Tour double 3 times, and you just chill. You don't do much, and I mean, you just have to ride your bike every day, a couple of hours. What I've found is, like, the third week of the tour is the moment for me the wheels fall off when you do the double. It's like doesn't matter how much you recover in the first 2 weeks of the tour, you just, like, honestly, you don't have to do much. It's just about getting like some rhythm back. Me and Chris Jensen, one of my teammates and I, have done it a couple of times, and we just like cadence, just go out, ride high cadence out training 2-3 hours, make sure you don't get fat, look after yourself nutrition wise. And then by the time you rock up to the tour, you were just like probably a kilo lighter. You're feeling good, sun's out, sun's shining, and then you're good to go. And then the first 2 weeks, you're just breathing through your nose, and then all of a sudden the body's just like, all right, mate. For me, it's always gone, that's enough. We're done now. We've done slogging yourself, and we shut you down. So then you limp to Paris.
How's Poggy then going to, on that theory, how's Poggy going to win the double? Is he going to have to just bank up a shitload of time in those first 2 weeks and then limp to Paris? Or you think he's just going to have to take a different tactic and just like literally not ride the bike until, day one in France, and then use the first week to get form again?
Knowing Poggy, he'd probably just do that. He probably wouldn't ride until he gets to Tour de France. You know what I mean? Like, he probably wouldn't need to. It's gonna be great, because like Jonas sort of had the advantage against Pogačar last year because he broke his arm. I mean, Jonas's crash is a lot worse than probably what Poggy was, but Poggy still couldn't get the right training in before the tour. So, and then he rocked up and Jonas beat him again. This time round, it's like Jonas is under the pump and Poggy's come in and this like, strong favourite. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
I reckon he'll get time, and then, there's a chance that he might crack at the end, which again makes it, kind of, even if he's dominating the race, it's still going to be exciting because something could happen.
Who are our standouts from the Giro? Who are you guys? I'll kick in. I've got a few standouts. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but look, for me, I've got a few standouts. A couple I want to mention is Giulio Pellizzari, the guy from VF Group Bardiani CSF. This guy was just climbing like an absolute demon. Second on stage 16 when Pog beats him. And then after the stage, we've all seen the clips. He goes in and asks if he can get his pink sunnies. Pog takes off his jersey, gives it to him. He was a fan just a few years ago. Saw Pog at Strada Bianchi, took a photo. I think everyone's aware of that. He's only 20 years old. He takes the Chima copy, second to in the KOM jersey. He looks like he's going to be a serious talent coming through in the mountains. The way he was racing as well, super aggressive. But for me, on the complete flip side of that was Simon Geschke, a good mate of mine, German rider. He's the last year pro. He finishes 14th on GC's, highest place on all his 19 Grand Tours. That's his third Giro. His previous height was 44th in the Tour de France. 16 years pro, as I said. He was fighting for the KOM jersey. I messaged him during the race just like, mate, what is going on? He goes, I've got no idea where these legs are. And I heard an interview with him as well saying, look, people keep asking me, you're going to go on, are you going to keep racing? He's like, look, I know I've got it good at the moment and I'm enjoying it, but I know that it doesn't stay always like this. And I can't forget how hard it is when the legs aren't like this. So Those two for me were pretty standouts. Boys, anything that stand out for you from the Giro aside from the complete dominance of Pog?
I'm going to go with our old mate Zach Dempster in the DS car. I believe doing first DS with Ineos for the first time in a Grand Tour. So Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but he managed really well. In particular, the Aronsman thing. You know, when Aronsman's dad basically came out and just made a ridiculous thing on Twitter about how the team had ruined him. Like on day one of the race, when you've got all of these ambitions and people in the bus and like people's hopes, and basically that's Zach's job then to kind of piece it all together. And the interview that I read with him was like, he ignored all of that shit from the outside and said, we're back in the rider, put my arm around him, he's going to get better. And look how well Aronsman did in the end. He came round after a tough day. And I was really impressed by the way Zach handled that, picking up what I picked up. And I mean, obviously you got Geraint on the podium as well, like a nice third place. And it's a big job from the car to manage that, to get onto the podium of a Grand Tour with a lot of stress. So I'd take my hat off to Zach with that. And yeah, nicely done.
I think also Demmers as well. I heard him interview around the stage 17 after the rest day when they were talking about cancelling the stage up at the top of Lavinio there. And the only real sensible interview I heard was from Zach Dempster. You know, he didn't try and, get aggressive. He painted the picture very well. He spoke he just spoke very well around it. And exactly what you said, he just didn't get caught up in it. He didn't try and sit on the fence. He put his opinions across. So yeah, Demmers, he is, as we all know Zach very well here in this podcast, but it's great to see him.
My favorite quote from Zach was, I love my dad, but I wouldn't give him, I wouldn't like him to put all his comments on Twitter. It was so good.
That's great. I enjoyed that.
I love my dad, but I wouldn't like to put all his comments on Twitter, so it was quite good.
What about you,
Derb? He did manage it well.
What about you, Derbs? Who stood out for you in the Giro?
Oh, who stood out for me? I watched pretty much every stage. I loved this year's Giro. What would I... Mate, look, I think we're going to talk about it in a minute. I think the AG2R team, Ben O'Connor, that whole aspect, like for a French team to send their like A squad to the Giro is a big call. And I think it came off well. They won 2 stages. They were 4th on GC and they won the team's classification. Like AG2R obviously has always like been one of those teams that's been probably a more international French team than most. But for them to go, look, we're going to go all in for the Giro and get the maximum out of it. And look, with probably Ben getting on the podium maybe, that's pretty much they milked everything out of the Giro and they can be really happy with that. So I think for me that team we can go into a little bit detail later, but I think that's one of my standout for the Giro. And then Milan, Milan's obviously one of the best sprinters, but like he just like came as like a Kittel-like figure, like Marcel Kittel, like this dominance, like this, like he became, I think last year he really performed. I think he won 1 stage last year or maybe 2, but he won the Ciclamina, but I think he won 1 stage. But this year was just like, if you deliver me, I'm the fastest in the world, and just dominated. So that was pretty cool. The whole Trek team backed him in, and I'd like to go over the last stage. I mean, I don't know if you boys saw it, but it was actually ridiculous, So, but that's my standouts.
Well, the last stage, exactly. Like Sturven's job in the last stage. Okay, Milan getting back, punches at 6.5k to go. He gets behind the cars, he gets in there, then gets through the bunch. They get to the position 2k to go, and I thought, wow, they're actually semi-early, They had a rest for a K, and then they started to lead out. But Sturven does this amazing job to get him through underneath the corner, puts him in the position. That would have been the icing in the cake, him taking that victory. It was a Robbie McEwen from whatever year that was in the Tour when he comes back from the crash.
In Canterbury, 2010, I think, Canterbury or something like that. Yeah,
7 was
cool.
it?
7.
but it was you could see it was just a little bit too gassed. I think, look, on the sprint stuff, Derbs, we've got to try and everyone's wondering what is going on with Caleb. There's a lot of rumors going around. He was up at altitude. He trained too much in the mountains. He's lost his top end. The sprint team sucks. How come, no one's leading him out? Sent Meza home because he's not good enough. What's the rumors?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. No, I didn't know this was coming at all. Nah, to be honest, I mean, I think everyone saw some good lead outs. It was very difficult to get it right at the Giro. There was only a certain amount of teams that got it like perfectly. And then there was a few days that I'd say we got it pretty good. So in terms of the team, I don't think that's an issue. I think we have to remember that like Caleb, it's probably been since he was sprinting for Grand Tour stage wins, been quite a few years. And I think he came back, he won a stage of Oman, he's building some momentum. And then he got sick in Torino and lost a bit of momentum there. And it's all about momentum with the sprinters. And I think, Caleb started, he obviously put himself in great physical shape by going up to the mountains. But then to go and get it done against, mate, it was one of the world's most biggest sprint fields we've had at the Giro.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was just not there. He was way out of it. It's like I would just assume Caleb on his own could sprint top 5, without anything. But like he was not even barely even like 1 or 2 top 10s on the whole Giro. He was just completely out of it for his standards. Something was just completely off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to really know at this point. I mean, Caleb's probably the only one who really knows. So, like I said, it'd just be good for him. We'd love to see him back at his best, and I'm sure he's more disappointed than anyone else what went on at the Giro, and I'm sure that bit of fire in the belly generally works for Caleb anyway. So hopefully he can go back and work on that, go on the drawing board, and then hit the Vuelta hard or the next goals. So yeah, we all hope that he can come back and get that sort of speed that we know he's got.
And lastly, before we wrap up the Giro, we've got to talk about it because Southam, you put me in such a good position. I was commentating on SBS and they asked me to pick a stage winner on stage 17. You said Steinhauser, and I was like, I don't know if I can pick him. Maybe he's used his golden bullet already because he had this amazing ride on stage 15 where he finished 3rd, and then he goes out and he wins stage 17 in epic fashion. Like he's in the break gets caught. It's a ridiculous stage, by the way. Then he just attacks again, goes away. That was a pretty crazy win.
Yeah, I mean, Georg's like he came to us kind of like as a part-timer, basically. He was still doing his apprenticeship. I'm sure everybody knows, but he was doing his apprenticeship as a metal worker. And his dad, who's an ex-pro cyclist, wanted him to finish his studies. One of the reasons he came to us was because we signed him and allowed him to keep studying. So his first year he raced as and when. And then he was full-time. He was a full-time cyclist for the first time last year. He was very unlucky because he got COVID just before he was supposed to start the Vuelta last year. That was supposed to be his first Grand Tour, and he came to Burgos with me and he got COVID there. And he's one of those guys who, there's a lot of murmurs about, this guy's so talented, this guy's so talented. And I'd seen it once or twice before the Giro in like Larciano and a few other races. And, this guy's he's got talent, But for him to take the step up that he did at the Giro was really, really fantastic. I mean, it's not just the one day, it's the 3 days. Where because he's done good stages at Tour of the Alps before, he's been second at Alps on one day and he's popped up here. And to back it up at the end of the race, because those guys who are in the moves, you can see them like the same guys day after day after day. After a certain point, it just means everybody else's engine's kind of cooked. So it's the guys who can do it, which for Georg says that he's got potential to, grow in the future to have an engine in the 3rd week of a Grand Tour, which not everybody can have. So for us, it's like that's a real, let's say, 2.5 years worth of proper development work to get that across the line. So there's a lot of people very, very happy with that. You know, if you sign a rider from, I don't know where, Astana, say, and he comes to you and he wins a race like Magnus, right? It's nice. He's already a developed rider. He's already got what he's got. But Georg is a guy who came to us as a youngster, and he's built up to that. And those guys were super hungry in that team. And I think Michael Valgren, like, mega hats off, set the tone with that second place early on. From that moment on, you could just see, like, even though they were in a lot of breaks that weren't the right breaks, they were always in the breaks. And it's not easy to be in the breaks. You guys would have both done Grand Tours when it's like on the bus every morning, right, guys, we've got to be in the break and no one can get in it. Or you miss it, but like every day. And it's like, that's when you get the feeling that, okay, something good's going to happen here, because we're always there. We're always like, if someone in the bus in the morning is saying, right, we need Honore to go in the break, then Honore's there. If you need Piccolo, then Piccolo's there. And then that's when good things happen. So, yeah, good team effort as well.
Well, let's just hear from a rider who was in the race. Simon Clark, he is in his 16th year pro. He's ridden 19 Grand Tours as well, and he did just his 5th Giro.
Hi there, Simon Clark here from Israel Premier Tech. So this year, 2024, was a quite unique Grand Tour where I've never been a part of such a dominant performance from one single rider, and that of Tadej Pogačar was a super impressive ride and a very convincing victory. Unfortunately for myself, there weren't a whole lot of middle stages, a lot of sprint stages and a lot of big mountain stages, which favoured the sprinters and the pure climbers, but nonetheless, it was a solid Giro, and it was good to get through unscathed. There were many retirements, and unfortunately, my team only managed to finish with 3 riders, of which one crashed on the last day and separated his AC joint. So it was a tough Grand Tour for Israel Premier Tech, but we'll hope to bounce back in the Tour de France in a month's time.
Okay, we are here with Durbo's segment. It's going to be quite short this week because we did quite a big stint at the Giro, which is really good. I'm going to talk about UCI points. Everyone loves them at the moment. We've loved them for the last couple of years. Pretty much just wanted to, I mean, it's pretty common within the Peloton, knowing what UCI points are, and we were talking about them all the time on the bus. And when it came to relegation period 2 years ago, it was just non-stop. Lanton Rouge had a page just rolling over with all the points and who was going to get cut. So that was quite interesting. And I'm sure next year there'll be many articles on Escape Collective about a certain team that's going to get cut, or a certain, team's got this UCI points. But for the next 2 years, everyone's just forgot about them again. But they're still just rolling in the background. So I guess I just want to explain to people back home, like, roughly how the system works, because I'm also slightly confused. Tom, you can also help because, when we're all pro, and I'm still pro now, we never even worried about a UCI point, because you went to races for important races. You try to win monuments, you try to win Grand Tour stages, World Tour races, all those sort of things. You just won them because it was because of what it was. But now it's, we've seen teams pulling riders out of Grand Tours, not even starting Grand Tours, to get UCI points because you have more UCI points for one-day classics, etc. So what I'd just like to start on is that there's UCI world ranking system, and what it is that obviously every race I think it's top 60. Look, this is a lot of hearsay, but you get points for finishing races, for winning races, all these things. And all those points go into, obviously, your team, and then you're ranked at the end of the season. And what they do is a 3-year cycle. So every year you got your points, and then they go to the next year and then the next year. And over 3 years, the teams are put into order, and the bottom 2 teams is cut from the World Tour, the bottom, and that is like team, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, is it 18 and 19?
I think it's 19 and 20, mate.
19 and 20. Yeah. So, So that's pretty much where we're at. Now, where we come to points, it gets to a point where it goes, the highest points you can get is like the Tour de France. I think that's like 1,300 points for winning the overall. And then it goes down to the Giro and the Vuelta, and then there's the monuments, and then you got your World Tour stage races, your World Tour stages, boom, 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 boom. Anyway, what happens now is teams are signing riders purely on point scorers, not necessarily on winners or someone that you might be developed that he could potentially win a monument. We might just sign a 30-year-old who consistently runs top fives in 0.1 races because he accumulates a lot of points. And you never see him get any victories, but because he's a valuable points rider, that team's going, well, if he brings 500 points to the team, which is a lot, that may be the difference between us getting relegated or not.
Is it like a Lloyd Mondori is now like super valuable? Like a guy who can just continue run top five?
A bad sprinter.
Yeah.
So somebody who in the past would be a guy like, yeah, we've got this sprinter, but he never fucking wins, you know?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on a minute. Let's just have this guy because he's consistently picking up points. So
he's sketchy. He runs top 10 and he doesn't need a lead out.
Hugo,
those guys
Hugo
are just
Hofstadter.
coming into their own.
Hugo Hofstadter.
I was going to say Hugo.
Classic example. Mozzato, even before he got second at Flanders a couple of years ago, was just absolutely perfect example. Just constantly doing sprints and getting there or thereabouts, basically with no help as well, right?
Mitch, like an Adis Krupus back in the day.
Yeah, so it goes back to like the Green Edge, because when Green Edge started, there was the point system around as well, and we were getting signed on points. We even got bonuses for points that you brought to the team, which is a beautiful system when you had a few points in your pocket. Is that around now? Are riders getting like, I guess they're getting paid or bought on more points, or is there a bonus system in place for
carry your
points?
points over. You can't take them anywhere.
So
as soon as the points stay with the team now. So remember, because they had the ridiculous situation where Purito got signed to, was it Bahrain or something? Because he had so many, even after he'd retired, they signed him because he had 2,000.
When he
sat on the
retired,
bench.
that's true.
Yeah. So that's gone. So you can only... So you're signed on the potential of the points that you can make. It's more about what types of riders you take, and also about, I think, like the in-house riders, making sure that a guy that, you know, knows that, listen, mate, if you want to help yourself, make 350 UCI points in the year, however you do it. If you're a rider whose normal job is to be a domestique, but you've got 300 points in the pocket, 350 points in the pocket, then you've got more value, right? Because
like go back to do Oceania championships, your African championships, your national titles, all these things, because even if they're like not easy points, but you possibly can get them, like Tom said, it makes sense.
So are riders getting bonuses on certain teams? Like, for instance, will teams put in a system where it's like, if you get a certain amount of points, you will receive a bonus for lower paid riders? Absolutely.
And I've heard of plenty of riders on contracts that are based around how many points they make in a year, right? So, or bonuses based on how many points they make in a year, which is it's a system of merit, but it kind of... So here's an example we have. I've got like a really relevant example for you from Buchel de Mayhem, which I've just come back from. Decathlon had 4 riders in the top 20 in the prologue, and that's kind of set the GC. But from then on, they tried to control the race only with one rider, right? Which they could not do. And basically, they had 4 riders.
Who was that? Who was that poor unlucky
basically,
guy?
The worst guy from their team in the prologue. They were like, right, you're going to ride for 5 days, and they couldn't manage it. Not to the point where they were playing like a smart game to get other teams to ride. They could not manage the race because they were trying to keep so many guys on GC. And eventually it blew up. I mean, we took over a couple of times and we won the race, and they got second and I don't know, eighth with God on or whatever. But you just because we couldn't understand like what their tactic was, and the only thing we could put it down to was like, oh, they're just trying to make an absolute ton of points with 4 guys in the top 10, which was just made no sense whatsoever. And it's another thing you have to think about when you're doing these races now, as to like what's the motivation here? Because in a pure cycling sense, it's like, right, let's get one guy across the line and we sacrifice everybody else. And if you stop pedaling, you stop pedaling, and you stand by the side of the road, it doesn't matter. But it's a bit different now, you know. It's like, oh, well, if you can hang around and also come 10th, then that's 35 points, and then that's going to help. And
I used to shun the guys, and I used to shun the guys and be like, oh, who's racing for paper results here? You know, like, do your job, but try and hang on for 30th. But now you actually get pumped up if you race for that position.
100%. I mean, there's guys in the classics, like everyone, you get points for the 60th down to 60th. So every group people sprint. So, you know, I mean, it's the same points for 59th and 60th, but like you still want to be top 60.
Well, you don't want to be 60
you have no
first.
idea how many. No, you don't know how many guys are in front of you. It's. I think it's one of those things. It's like if it's a game that's everyone knows how to play, then it changes the shape of cycling. But at the moment, there's still like not everyone knows the game. Does that make sense? Like there's people across it and there's teams going for it. But then all of a sudden you rock up to a race and you've got 2 sprinters racing head to head because you want to get maximum points. And those sprinters don't know. They just are standard bike riders. They just think we're here to win a bike race. So I think it's like, okay, we need to everyone needs to understand it. At the start of the season, the teams need to explain it, and this is what's happening, and this is where cycling moves forward. Everyone line scabs each other. Or it's just only give points for top 3, you know, only top 3, you know, and then it will go back. But anyway, I just thought it's a bit of a short segment, but I just wanted to say this is what's happening in the background, and thanks, Tom, for chiming in. It really helped. But I'm sure next year, everyone watch out for the articles, because there's going to be a lot on the relegation and what's going to happen. So, yeah, we can touch again next year on this space, I think, in more in depth.
I mean, I think it's interesting to say now, Deb, I mean, because it's like we're a year and a half through this cycle, but also the last cycle, nobody thought about it until the last year. And then it was just like within every team bus was just like what's going on. But this year it's been a consideration since the cycle started, you know. Teams have got experts doing spreadsheets as to like, okay, well, this is how many points we need to be safe. And if by this stage of the year we've got enough points, then we're going to just race freely and race properly to win races, but like, or the other way around, you know, we're going to race properly. And if that doesn't bring enough results, then we're just going to race like Arkea, you know. It's like, it's become a real thing in this new cycle. So it's interesting.
But the fans, it would be good to know the fans would know. I think that's why it's sort of good to put this on the podcast. Like, because I'm sure people back home are just going like, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or like you said, you'll probably turn on the television soon. You'll be seeing these races. You'll be like, why are they doing that? And then you're just like, well, this is kind of the reason why.
It's super interesting. Yeah, like I haven't thought like that. I haven't thought like that at all.
Right, so I want to touch this month on the Grand Tour breakaway, and this is something I've seen change quite a bit in the Tour in the last years. And I was watching the Giro, and it's my think it's come from that, as to, you know, I watched the Sterato stage, and it was 80 or 90k before the break went of constant attacking. And I mean,
beautiful.
That's the Giro. So I just sat there watching that, thinking, that's the Giro. What is going to happen at the Tour? Because we've come to a place now where, for good or for bad, the top GC guys are so far ahead of everybody else. You know, if you go to a mountain stage, it's kind of done, right? And there's a lot of teams fighting for, you know, one stage win or the opportunity to go into a break to get one stage win. Personally, I think that's also one of the reasons why it's actually increased crashes. I think we saw that at Basque Country. I might have talked about it on the pod, but just how desperate people are just to get their one opportunity to get a World Tour win, get a breakaway win. And so I'm finding it really interesting to see now how long it's taking the break to go. At the Tour, it hasn't gone easy for quite a few years, but I think at the Giro, and you guys can back me up on this because or not, or contradict me because you've ridden it, the break would go traditionally a little bit easier, or the Vuelta, it's kind of like.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I always remember, like, for instance, you do a race like Torino Adriatico, and in comparative to Paris-Nice, they're the sort of two early seasons, if you want to do the Giro, Tour de France comparison, is that Paris-Nice is a fight for the break the whole time, and Torino, the break could just roll off the front. I remember being there one time going, is the break gone? I didn't even know it had gone. Like, some guy rolled off the front. I was like, that's so good. And the Giro had elements of that. Of course, it was a Grand Tour, but, there was days where the break did roll away. As I've seen that transition, I didn't really see that this year. Even for the flat days, nothing was going to happen. There was still a fight. I get the feeling the Vuelta is that sort of mix between the Tour and the Giro. It's sort of a bit more fight for the break because you get that element of fighting for your contract still at the end of the year. So people still need to show themselves on days where you think there shouldn't be such a fight today, but someone's just like, hey, dude, I need to do something. But I think it's really interesting. And out of the back of that, I want to ask, has there ever been in your memory a day where there's been no break?
I can remember a day there's been a few days, because what happens is it takes so long for the break to go that then the sprinters teams suddenly go, you know what? Or the GC teams go, you know what? Fuck it, we can control it from here. So I remember a stage of the Vuelta like that a few years ago. A stage of the Vuelta, 2017, people tried basically until 30 Ks to go, then the sprinters teams took it up. And it was non-stop attacks because I was driving the car in front of the race, sort of waiting for the break to go and then just to dive behind the break. And constantly one man was like, nah, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it just never happened. I think when you've got so many people, it was late in the race. A lot of teams hadn't won anything. And then you just get this kind of like, well, you have to be there. So you either get that situation or you get every team's been told, oh, you have to be in the break, unless it's two riders from Pro Conti teams. And so eventually, when everyone's kicked each other's heads in, two riders roll off and everyone goes, well, it's better to say that I didn't fuck it up than, I don't want to be the only World Tour team not there. No, there's no other World Tour teams. Let's just let this go. And then he gets caught anyway.
Well, what actually happens when there is no break? Like they just start riding with no one in front.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Sort of weird.
In some respects, it's kind of like, but the break itself, that like 2-man, 3-man break on a sprint stage, it's like, why be there? Okay, you need to be on TV or whatever, but it's like, or why not when you're there, just go after 80K, just go, you know what? Let's just call it, go back to the bunch, reopen the race, and then one of my teammates, because that's how Valgren got away at the Giro, right? Those are the interesting days when the break gets caught, like what should be a sprint stage, the break gets caught too early for whatever reason. And then the next break goes, and the next break's good riders and you can't catch it, no matter how hard you try. Why sit out there in a break of 3 people that you know is going to get caught with 4K to go, instead of just going, let's have the balls to go back to the bunch, call it off, and reopen the race?
That's a good call, because I was wondering that actually in one stage, specifically in the Giro, where they were fighting it, and Eduardo Affini, he went across. The gap was like a minute and a half the whole stage. I'm like, why are these guys pulling so hard? Just play with the Peloton, sit up. Either they catch you, have the balls to go back and go, screw you guys, the race is back open again, or just go, you guys need to literally slow down and let us get a gap. But they fought it. They literally fought it at like 400 watts for like the whole stage. I'm like, you guys are stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about it, like there's an element of like ego in the aspect of like they made the breakaway of the day, and it's like now I'm not going to go back and just give that away. Like I've been here, but like I just can't understand sometimes the breakaway. Like I've been in a few breakaways that we've stayed to the line. Like it's not up to you if you stay away, is it? It's up to the Peloton. Like, it's really not up to you. And if the Peloton doesn't want to catch you too early, then they catch you and you just get engulfed and so be it. That's it. But like the breaks that we stayed away, we literally we're 30 seconds with 50K to go. Because then they're like, oh shit, we've got to all have a piss here. And as soon as you see them pull over, then it was just like, right, team's time trial, now we go. And then we end up staying away. But like, it's just like, and then, I mean, also, but saying that, the Tour de France is another beast because even the flat stages, like we're going so fast. Like at the moment, like we're going so fast. Like when the stage Askren won and Victor Campenaerts, and I think you might remember it, like we had them at 20 seconds. And honestly, we were like out of the seat sprinting and we could just not close them. And like these guys are really strong guys, but we had them at 20 seconds with like 50K to go and we just couldn't close it. It was like unbelievable.
I think with like modern equipment, clothing, etc., the traditional kind of rule of thumb as to how much time you need is actually different. Because like you said, we had this in Boucle de Mer. Break never got more than 2 minutes. On the last day we were chasing, we gave it 2 minutes 15 maximum. It was us, Total, and Q36 and a bit. Full teams chasing. And then like they sped up when they sped up, 40Ks to go, and we responded and we missed them by 5 seconds at the end. And they had six riders, but like sort of guys you've probably not heard of. And we had 3 teams, not the same riders, like changing riders. We went through the whole team, basically. Q36 went through the whole team. Total went through the whole team. And some days you just cannot get that close.
Because I was thinking about the other day, I was literally talking about this exact same problem we had in Veenendaal, and we let a break of 6 Dutch amateurs go up the road. Probably, I don't think there was anyone world touring that. And they were, like I said, we gave them like, I don't know, 3 minutes or something like that. And we caught them with 1.8K to go. And we used our entire team, you know, and like and not just us, Wanty, Lotto. We had 3 World Tour teams and we couldn't close this gap. And we averaged 48.5 Ks an hour for the race. And you're just like, there's a point where like the drag, like you can only go so fast. You know what I mean? Like at one point the wind slows you down. You cannot go faster than fast. So if you're doing 60 Ks an hour, because it's a fast piece of road, like you can't go 70. Like doesn't matter how many watts you go, there's a point where it just like there's just too much drag. So everyone's at this point where like if they're doing like aerodynamic wise, they're doing the similar watts to you on the front or just a little bit below. I mean, we're talking maybe 0.5 Ks an hour. Like, you know, you're not ripping or hemorrhaging in. Like I remember when I used to watch Tour de France, Phil Liggett always used to say, yep, we always say in the last 10K, 1 minute per 10K. Yeah. That does not exist anymore.
Way.
No chance. It's like
no way.
5 minutes, 50K to go. Those breaks were back. No way. Not anymore.
No way. No. I mean, managing the whole thing's become... it's harder to, it's like, it's more difficult to get into. It's more difficult to control. I think the whole like breakaway ideas, like it's changing as the sport's changing. And I find it super interesting.
But it's probably worth playing the game though, isn't it? Because that's the only way you're going to get a result. Like you said, Tom, with like even having Pog in a race, like, and we spoke about this in the classics, you have to be in the breakaway if you want an opportunity to actually get a result. And most of the time it doesn't work, but the breaks kind of, the speed of the bunch, the way it goes, crashes, things like that. Like you still give yourself a chance if you're in the break, you know?
100%, like, sorry to go on about it again, but 100% the break's still worth it. Like the Valgren scenario, that was 100% worth it, you know, and Steinhausen, again, you know, like it's a different beast now. And I think the new generation, us old dinosaurs here, don't get it. But the new generation know how to race their own race.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. we're here with a community quiz just to wrap it up. Got quite a short one this week, boys.
Oh, Durbo's
big
doing the quiz this week. Here we go.
Nice.
Yeah, I am. All right, we're going to do a Who Am I? Now, I'm going to read off, I think about 6 or 7 of these, and just obviously standard competition. Who's got the most points at the end of the day wins. They are all cyclists. So it's a real, if you know you're cycling, you know?
Oh, so are you going to just do like a read of 7 Who Am I's mixed in all together and you have to just list them off at the end? Okay, they're all cyclists. No. 7 people. Here we go.
Right, they're all cyclists. No. What I'm doing is this is number 1. All right. Now just chime in if you know it.
Right.
Now if you chime in and you yell it out, then you have to wait for the other person to go and then you can go back again because I'll read a few more points to make it a bit more obvious.
All right. You can't just keep chiming in.
Yep, fair.
Can't just keep chiming in. All right. All right.
Can't just keep saying Philippe Gilbert.
He's not in it. So there you go. All right.
That's eliminated one.
Right. Number 1. I'm a retired male cyclist. I've won multiple world championships, but I've won more gold medals at Olympics than worlds. I'm the most successful cyclist in Olympic history.
Bradley Wiggins.
Pause. Wrong. I've won 7 gold medals.
Cancellara.
We may be thinking 7 gold medals. No one in the road cycling has won 7 gold medals. I'm a male cyclist. I'm the most successful cyclist in Olympic history. I'm the most successful British athlete at Olympics.
Mark Cavendish.
Shit, boys.
Ed
I thought
Clancy.
you'd get this. We're getting closer. It's not Ed Clancy.
Oh, I think I know who it is now.
You have to pause. Mitch, you got one more go at it, and then Tom, there you go.
Thomas.
No.
That's what I was going to go with.
Okay, we're talking sprint cyclist.
Chris Hoy.
Oh, I went too hard here. It's not Chris Hoy, but it's his
Is there any
rival
more
from the
Who
same
Am I's?
country.
Have you got any more?
Same country.
Any more?
Yeah,
bits?
his partner is also the most famous cyclist, famous Olympic cyclist, British cyclist. She is also multiple gold medal winners for the British team. Nah. All right. Are we going dead heat? Yeah, we can keep going, but I mean,
Keep going.
it's Jason Kenny.
Oh, I wouldn't have got that.
Oh, yeah. No.
Come on. Anyway, I thought I'd try to lead you down the Chris Hoy aspect.
2 track heavy.
Yeah.
That's fine. The rest is road, so we'll go with that. That's probably more your thing. All right. 0-0. Sorry, boys.
That's good.
Number 2. I've ridden 2 monuments in my career, both in 2013, Roubaix and Flanders. I was 4th in the Commonwealth Games in 2014. I have 9 wins to my name. 3 stages of Tour of Ireland, 2 stages of Tour of Wallonie, and I was British road champion.
Russ Downing.
My first big... Yay, Tom, well done. Well done.
Nice. The Rustler.
Well done.
Oh, geez,
next one. My first big team was 1999, Linda McCartney. Who was I? Who am I?
Nice.
Well
Nice.
done.
Anyway, we sort of go between, I think Tom knows this versus Mitch knows it. So we sort of go back and forth. Anyway, all right. So number 1 point for Tom.
So
Right,
Jason
number 3.
Kenny was mine, was he?
Yeah, Mitch, come on, mate.
No.
I dropped the ball there.
Yeah, you're a track cyclist. Okay. Number 3. I was Australian road champion. I also won the Herald Sun Tour.
Cameron Meyer.
No. Pause. You can't make another guess. I was a world tour director.
Matt Wilson.
2 points for Tom. Well done.
Dan, that is a good one. Yeah, a bit off the. You can't remember sometimes that he was Aussie champ, and then his Sun Tour win as well was
Mate, you rode that Sun Tour, didn't you?
No, I was there. I took it off. Remember?
You studied. Yeah, I remember.
You're studying.
Yeah. What was it? Midlands Tour. You told
All right.
McGrory. I remember.
Okay, boys. Number 4. I was a pro from 2006. I rode for so he started in 2006. I rode for 4 teams throughout my career, and I retired 2 years ago. I was national champ in 2014, and I was 3rd in Roubaix in my career.
Roger Hammond.
Oh, Roger Hammond. Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I could roll a good TT here and there, but no wins on the TT bike. 7 wins for my career. I've ridden with or ridden under both of you. So that means like you've DS'd him, Tom, and you've been teammates with him.
Go back to the start again. Hang on. He's
Okay. I was pro from 2006.
Will Clark.
I rode... No, not Will Clark. Now,
Finished
there was
3rd
2
at
years prior.
Roubaix. 3rd at
Oh, yeah, I
Roubaix.
forgot
It's got to
about
be
that.
someone.
3rd at Roubaix. 4 teams. I was national champ. 7 wins. I can keep going if you want a bit more.
Oh, I
think
know
the
who
next-
it is. Oh, it's
Well,
my
you're
turn,
right,
isn't
'cause-
it?
Yeah, it's your
Yeah.
turn.
It's got to be Langeveld.
Yep, correct, Mitch. 1
Yes.
point. Nice.
What year was Will Clark 3rd at Roubaix anyway?
I don't know
I
what
think-
year
I
he was
think he was
3rd in
4th.
Roubaix, but... Oh, Will Clark. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Oh, we love Wilbur. No, I wish he was 3rd in Roubaix. He probably could have been.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So that's
2-1.
That's number. So there's 2 points to Tom, 1 point to Mitch. All right, we are getting close. Final 2. Turned pro in 2016. Have ridden for 3 pro teams. National champ in 2023 TT. Just finished the Giro. One where his team at the Giro won 1 stage by a German. I rode for NTT.
Valgren.
Oh, no.
Oh.
But
Oh, I
there's
know
one
who it
other.
is.
National champion 2023.
But it's Mitch's go.
Just finished the Giro. Mitch's go. Tom's going to wipe you if you get this wrong. One more chance.
He's on EF.
Yep.
Time trialer.
Oh, I'm so annoyed.
Time trial 2023.
He's on EF now. Oh.
You just
under
finished the Giro.
under 23 time trialer.
Nah.
No. National champ, elite. I don't want to give you the next one because you're going to
I
get it
can't
straight
even
away.
think who rode with the guy on the team now.
He
Right.
rode also for Astana.
Oh, was it Honore?
Stefan de Bod.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, boys. I was going to go African champ, and Mitch probably would get that anyway. All right. So Tom's 3. I don't think Mitch is coming back for this, but we'll do the last one anyway.
Double points on the last one.
Double points. It's not going to make much difference. I've won stages in the Vuelta and 1 in the Tour. I've won 1 stage in the Tour. I'm a super versatile rider. I went to Rio Olympics. I just finished the Giro. I used to also ride for Astana. And I've worn the pink jersey at the Giro, but haven't won a stage.
Simon Clark.
Hey, there we go.
Oh, how'd you get that?
Stana.
Well
We
done.
have the community
Another
quiz.
Ashes
Well done, Tom.
victory for England.
Well done.
Oh, he
Yet
stuffed
another
it,
Ashes win
Smashed it.
for
Quizzes.
England.
Smashed it.
boys. Very good. Love having you on. Love
a
catching up
pleasure.
once a month.
Good fun.
And I'll let you boys go to bed and I'll kickstart my day.
Get some more ketones into you, Mitch. Come on,
Right,
mate.
Thanks.
See you, boys.
Enjoy. See you, mate. Bye.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.